everyone. Welcome back to this episode of Private Club Radio, the industry's choice for news, trends, updates, and conversations all in the world of private golf and country clubs. Whether you're a consummate professional or brand new to the industry, welcome. We are so glad you're here. This is the show where we go over any and all topics related to private golf and country clubs, from leadership, management, governance, food and beverage, marketing, branding, you name it. We're probably going to talk about it. Thank you all for being here. I'm your host, Denny Corby. This is going to be a fun episode. We chat with our friend, Chris Clews, and it's all going to be what clubs can learn, what we can learn from 80s pop culture. It's going to be a fantastic episode. We're going to get to that in 1 minute. If you have not done so already, if you are not signed up for our newsletter, make sure you do. Head on over to privateclubradio.com. And guess what? It's going to pop up. It's going to have you sign up. So that's all you got to do. We release episodes and some other content that we don't always put out to the masses, but we put out into our newsletter. So make sure you sign up there. And before we get to the episode with Chris, I just want to do a quick little note from some of our show partners, because without them, the show would not be possible. I mean, it would be. It just helps the show and all. We have our new friends. We have Golf Life Navigators. It is eHarmony meets Zillow. It's where golf enthusiasts, golf people who love the game, go to find their dream home, their dream communities, and their dream clubs. They have an amazing algorithm where they go in, they put in all the information, and it spits out where their dream club is. If you would like to be a part of this platform, and it's advertising without advertising, it is absolutely fantastic. Head on over to golflifenavigators.com, set up a call with Jason Becker or someone from the team. Guaranteed it's going to be awesome. We also have our friends, Kenneth/member vetting. It is fact-based member vetting. If you are not doing some sort of investigative background research on the people who are trying to come into your clubs, I think you're really missing out. There's a lot of clubs that just do maybe a credit check and just need a couple references. And I'm sorry, I don't think that cuts it, especially today when a lot of people are moving from different states. You don't know who some of these people are, and you want to make sure the people who are coming into your club are who they say they are. If you're interested in learning a little bit more, head on over to membervetting.com, set up a call with Paul Dank, and it's going to be awesome. Paul's a great guy. They don't tell you who, if the people should be a member or not. It's up to you, but they just present the information that they find. If you want to learn a little bit more, we have our episodes of member vetting here on Private Club Radio. Highly encourage you, go check them out. We also have our friends, Concert Golf Partners, boutique owner-operators of luxury private golf and country clubs nationwide. If you, your club, a friend's club, your enemy's club, someone's club is looking for some recapitalization, head on over to concertgolfpartners.com, set up a confidential phone call with Peter Nanula, and see if you're a good fit. And it's not always about recapitalization. There's some clubs that are just maybe done being member-owned and want to take that off their plate. Guess what? That's okay, too. Head on over to concertgolfpartners.com, set up a call with Peter. Guaranteed it's going to be awesome. And finally, if you're thinking, Denny, how can we support you a little bit? I got you. If you are looking for one of the most fun member event nights, I have you covered. I have a magic, mind reading, and crowd work show called the Denny Corby Experience. It's an entire evening of magic, mind reading, fun, and most importantly, audience interaction, banter. We go back and forth. I know how my show starts and ends. The middle is a free-for-all. I leave it up to the audience. We have a fantastic time. If you want to learn a little bit more, head on over to dennycorby.com. That's dennycorby.com. And we will have a phone call, and it's going to be great. With that being great, I want to bring on my friend, author, speaker, and I would say he does a lot for clubs. Chris has done the CMAA LLC. He's presented to the Chicago chapter, the Greater Chicago chapter, the Florida. He's done the Seminole and Everglades. He's going to be working with the Gator and the Sunshine. He is absolutely amazing. Chris Clews. Chris. You and your name. I'm not even going to edit that out. I'm not even going to edit because I'm already editing because I can't. It's the C's and the C's together. Chris Clews. There we go. It's that W. Just seeing that W in there just makes my brain go. Brr. So, Chris, thank you for letting me mess up your name, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, Denny. And at least, thankfully for you, your name is not alliteration. Because if your name had alliteration like mine, you'd never be able to pronounce your own name correctly. Yeah.
The worst part is I do have I don't want to say like a speech impediment, but it's like not so much a stutter. It's like a hesitation at times. And what stinks is it happens a lot with the word M. And what do? Magic. So sometimes it's like people are like, what do you do? And I'm like, this might take me a second. Like
I do tricks. Tricks. Yeah.
Or as my dad says, I turn tricks for a living. So that's definitely
I mean,
put it. But no, thank you so much for being on here. I love what we're going to talk about. It's what 80s pop culture can teach us about club culture. And I'm super excited. We have your books back here, Raised on the 80s. It is awesome. It's fantastic. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Denny. I appreciate you having me, man. I mean, it really means a lot to me. I'm excited to be here. I love talking about this stuff. I'm an 80s pop culture guy through and through. As you can see, my Breakfast Club shirt, my Save Ferris on my chalkboard. I got it all. So I'm ready.
So what can clubs learn from 80s pop culture?
Well, it's, all of us can learn from 80s pop culture, believe it or not. But when we talk about clubs specifically, one thing that I kind of want to point out, because a lot of times people think 80s pop culture, how can I learn from that? And why 80s pop culture? So if I can just take a quick step back, part of the reason that 80s pop culture can teach us these valuable lessons is because there was so much happening in pop culture in the 80s. I mean, it's a kind of a decade of its own in a lot of ways with pop culture. I say that somebody took a glitter bomb and threw it against the wall and all these wonderful colors came out. And that was all the individuality and the innovation and invention that was happening in the 80s in pop culture, which we are all still experiencing today. And so much of what we consume today either had an origin story in the 80s or was really, really small before the 80s and then just took off. And so it gave us this opportunity to really teach a lot through 80s pop culture. And I say that the best lessons for life and work and clubs are going to come from the most unexpected of places and people. And that is most certainly 80s pop culture. I feel like we retain things we're not kind of ready to learn. We're not prepared to learn. We don't expect to learn. And suddenly we learn. And so as an example, I might throw somebody like Jeff Spicoli out and what he can teach us about our club culture and how he can teach us the importance of creating a really cool club culture when it comes to, say, retention, both on the employee side and on the member side, both of those together, and the motivation that we need for employees through Jeff Spicoli when he talked about Jefferson. So, when there was the moment where he and Mr. Hand comes to his house and he has this pop culture quiz for him to pass American history. And his answer to kind of like how America was created, Jefferson, he's kind of said, the rules over here, we got to have some cool rules over here pronto, or we'll just be bogus too, like that England place. And that's what I talk about when I say you got to have some cool rules, as Spicoli said. And when I say rules, I mean a cool environment for people to work. And I don't mean a ping pong table for the employees somewhere. I don't mean a 15-minute caddy swim like they had in Caddyshack. That was shortened by was it a Baby Ruth? I think. Anyway, yeah, by the candy bar, we'll say. What I mean is, yeah, Baby Ruth, yeah. What I mean is create a cool culture. What I mean by that is that people get up every day excited to come to work because they feel like they're coming to a place that cares about them and that wants to make a difference in their lives because they're trying to make a difference in the club's life as well. And same goes for the members. How important it is to make sure that the members feel like what they're doing here, my experience at the club is something that I want to go tell my friends. I want to brag about how cool my club is. And again, cool meaning, is it a place that everyone feels comfortable, everyone feels safe, everyone's excited to be there each and every day?
I tell people clubs are like adult playgrounds. Like it can be fun for everybody, including the staff. People go to a club to have a good time. They go there to swim, to play golf, to entertain, to bring their friends, to bring their families, to celebrate. Like, it's where people go to have a good time. Like, we have to have fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you live in a place where I live in Florida, South Florida, there are a lot of clubs. And you may live in an area where, the members that are in a particular community, I think you were mentioning one of your sponsors earlier, that, you live in the community and so you're part of that club. But there are other clubs that are looking outside into a couple of different areas. And that's when we talk about the England place. And if you don't get some cool rules pronto, we'll just be bogus too. And then they're going to leave your England place. And so that's from a Spicoli perspective. And there's another one that ties to that as well, which is Lloyd Dobler from Say Anything. And have you seen that movie, Denny? Say Anything?
It was years ago.
Yeah. Do you remember the classic scene, at least, where he holds the boombox over his head?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And he's playing In Your Eyes. Okay. So, I talk about this in the context of club culture as well. And more specifically, what we're doing to make sure that we retain our very best employees. And so there's a moment in the movie, Say Anything. Now, just a brief plot synopsis for everybody out there. Say Anything is a romantic comedy, 1989, starring John Cusack. You may know that name, amongst others in the movie. Ione Skye plays the girl that he has a crush on. Now, Lloyd Dobler, played by John Cusack, is this guy that everybody kind of likes, but you wouldn't say he's one of the popular kids. He's just a likable guy. No, but it's a guy that nobody ever had a problem with. Diane Court, played by Ione Skye, she's the valedictorian. She's super smart. She doesn't have a lot of friends because she spends all her time studying or working for her dad. And Lloyd has a huge crush on her and wants to take her to prom, wants to take her to a party. And he finally convinces her to do so. And they hit it off. And they have a great time. And she's really surprised. But she's leaving at the end of the summer to go to England. So here comes England again. To go to England to study. And at that moment, 1989, long distance calls might cost you $37 for a minute. There's no email. So she gives him a pen and she says, write me. And, she says, we just can't see each other anymore because I'm going to be leaving at the end of the summer. And she gives him a pen and says, write me. And he's talking to his sister. He says, I gave her my heart and she gave me a pen. And when we think about that quote, how many times have you been in a job or at a club or in a career, whatever, it could be entry level, middle management, it could be leadership, where you gave your heart and you feel like all you got was a pen? And what do you do in those situations? You start looking for something else, something better, right? If I'm going to give it my all, I hope I get more than a pen, proverbial pen.
Stab him in the neck.
Yeah. Right. And so we sometimes overlook the small things that make a huge difference in an employee's day or in their career. What are the opportunities that they're looking for? And so what I say is, even with our members, by the way, that what we should be doing is what Lloyd did when Diane gave him the pen. He didn't give up. He said, wait a minute, hold on a second. There's got to be something more I can do here. And he went out by her window in a park by her house, and he hit that classic scene where he's holding up the boombox and it's got In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel playing, and she can hear it. And it makes all the difference because what he did is he got creative. And so I say, find that inner Lloyd Dobler in you, find that Peter Gabriel, and find creative ways to let your employees know that you care and to let your members know that you care. Both of these, both Jeff Spicoli and Lloyd Dobler, are lessons that are driven to motivate, lessons that are driven to retain, whether it's on the employee side or on the member side. And it's really about finding ways to kind of break through with Lloyd Dobler. What can you do to really show your members and your employees that you care? And so I think I think it's really cool. It's like yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and that's at the essence what a great club is a group of people who care about each other, because every club is a little bit different. Every club has its own unique identity, its own personality, hopefully, which is what makes, I think, a good club. It separates a good club from a great club. But yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I have a lot more. Actually, when I was talking to the chapters here in Florida, we were focusing on retention and motivation, and so I have a lot more lessons around that. We can talk about other areas of the club, but we can continue to focus on retention and motivation.
I like that, and
okay,
could be another episode for another time. So
yeah,
let's focus on retention.
Yeah. So another one I have, which I love, and this is from the Karate Kid. So hopefully most people have seen the original, and maybe you're like super into Cobra Kai like I am, because it just feels like so after school special, that the Cobra Kai show, if you've ever watched it. It's like such 80s after school special. I can't take my eyes off of it. So Karate Kid, you saw the original?
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to actually go by the original plot line, not the theories that people have about who was the actual bully, because there are questions about whether Daniel LaRusso was actually the bully and Johnny Lawrence was just defending himself, his friends, whatever. We're going to go with the original plot line, which is Daniel's the new kid. He gets bullied by Johnny Lawrence and Cobra Kai, and he finds, Mr. Miyagi, who is, in my mind, one of the greatest characters in cinematic history. And he finds Mr. Miyagi, and Mr. Miyagi teaches him karate obviously to defend himself, but also to learn about life and self-discipline. And there's the wax on, wax off that I think most of us remember, but there's something else he says in that scene. And he says, don't forget to breathe, very important. And I thought about this and I'm like, listen, I'm not the smartest guy, so I'm really glad that we breathe involuntarily, because we do it like almost 30,000 times a day, which I would have been dead a long time ago if I had to think about breathing 30,000 times a day. But when he says, don't forget to breathe, very important, I want to tell people in the audience, or I'll tell you, Denny, or anybody who's listening, I want you to think about someone or something that stresses you out. And just get that person, usually it's a person, or that thing in your head. And do you feel your body suddenly just tightening up? Your shoulders start to raise a little bit. You might grit your teeth or grind your teeth. You certainly, if we weren't in a professional setting, you might just throw some F-bombs out into the air because you're thinking about this person. That's typical. And we walk around all day like that. We walk around stressed all day. We don't realize it, but we're carrying it with us all the time. And so I say that you've got to find ways to breathe, because stress is like dehydration. Once you realize you have it, it's too late. And I don't know if you've ever had a bout of dehydration.
I have not. That's a good line.
You like that one?
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm just going back to breathing, because at the gym, I constantly have to remind myself to breathe, because I'm one of those, like, I don't breathe during my reps. So, because
I'm the same way. Way. Yeah.
And then, my wife's like, breathe, because my face is getting red. I'm like, so out of breath. I was like, I was doing a rep. She's like, it's not that hard. I'm like, I'm not breathing. Like,
breathe. Just tell her to bring some paper bags with her, just in case you hyperventilate. You'll be fine. Yeah. So stress is like dehydration. By the time you realize you have it, it's too late. Have you had dehydration before?
I have not.
Okay, I have. And I got to tell you, it was self-induced, like most dehydration is. I mean, not all, but a lot of times it's choices that we make. I was a little bit younger. I made some not so great choices throughout the day to not consume water, but also to play golf in the very hot sun. I was dipping tobacco at the time. That's a really bad habit. I don't suggest it for anybody. I quit cold turkey about 15 years ago, but at this time I hadn't. Well, wasn't drinking water, playing golf, drinking beer, dipping tobacco. That's not good for hydration. Come home, take a quick nap, go to the gym, sweat some more, no water, take a hot shower, no water, go out with my friends to eat at a Japanese restaurant, have sake, and then suddenly it hit me. I thought I was going to die. I really did think this was it. Like, I thought I was having a heart attack, all kinds of things. It turned out to be severe dehydration. Now, all the things I just told you, all I had to do was drink some water that day, and I likely would have avoided something that scared me almost to death, really to death. The same thing goes for our stress in the workplace and our lives. We have to take time to breathe. And breathing can be anything. It can be walking your dog, playing with your kids, having a cup of tea, doing some yoga, getting a quick workout in, just whatever it is, to step away and to try to put whatever that thing is that's stressing you out aside. Even if it's just for 30 minutes, it will make a huge difference in your ability to get back to the things that you were doing. And I say this both for employees and for club leadership, where actually it is more important, because you have to allow your employees the opportunity to breathe. And I don't mean a typical lunch hour or PTO. I mean, if somebody says, hey, listen, I got to step away for about 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I'm feeling something. I just need to step away. They have to know that they can do that. And they have to know that they can lean on you to do that. It's really, really important. It'll create a great work environment. We talked about cool places to work. That's part of the cool place to work. Letting your employees know that you care enough to, when they say, I need 30, 45, okay, great. Take it, reset, get back. That's also from a productivity perspective. Everybody's more productive when we're not stressed and we're healthier. You know, you talked about going to the gym. You and I are the same, and we go to the gym all the time. Like my health is really important to me, and a lot of people, their health is important to them. It should be important to leadership as well. It should be important to leadership that their employees are healthy as well. And leaders have to do this too, because we talk about, you know, I'll say, for lack of a better word, poop rolling downhill. And when it rolls downhill, how it takes everybody out with it. Well, stress rolls downhill as well, and it takes out a lot more people when it does. If you're stressed as a leader, everybody's going to be walking on eggshells around you. They're not going to know how to react. People become unproductive. They make snap decisions. They don't know what to do, and then they end up leaving to go to an environment that's not so stressful. Leaders, you have got to take time to breathe. It's super important. If you don't do it, it will impact your entire organization, and not just you, not just your family, but everybody who interacts with you on a daily basis at the club.
Do you have any good breathing exercises?
I don't. I tried yoga once and I got kicked out. So, because at the end, I just stayed like, I didn't. Yeah, they asked me to leave. Because
I just left. Because because I'm always afraid I'm going to fart. Like that's also my like first thing. Is like, I'm also like super like conscious of like, you know, just of my surroundings, and I'm afraid I'm going to fart, and like, I know I'm not good at it. So like there's that, and then you're in the room and there's other people who are better than you. So it's just, I just don't, nope. It's it gives me more anxiety than it relaxes me. I did do goat yoga once, which was even worse, because not only am I worrying about farting, now I have goats next to me peeing. Like, it was the most anxious I've been in so long.
I have not done. I don't know if I do like that puppy yoga I see, but the goat yoga, puppy yoga I would do in a second. But they just, at the end of I did fine, by the way. I mean, I was terrible at it. Like I definitely needed some work on my flexibility. But at the end, she had us lay down and she's like, I want you to think about green mist swirling in your heart. And I just couldn't. I just started laughing because like, I can't do this. And
I just posted yesterday. I don't know if you saw it on my Instagram. I said, if we're in a don't laugh situation, don't look over at me. Like, so 100%.
Exactly.
100%.
Yes. Yeah.
We should come up with like laughter yoga or something.
It's not a bad idea, because I'd like to go back to yoga, but I am afraid that when they do the cool down and they start talking about, you know, green mist swirling around and things like that, I'm not gonna be able to hold it together. And I was so good throughout the entire session, this entire class, and then I couldn't keep it together. Just going away from that one for just a second, because I do want to talk about a lesson from is arguably the most iconic movie from the 80s, and the one that kind of defined Generation X, which is The Breakfast Club. And that's on my shirt here. For those of you that might be watching, I have a Breakfast Club shirt on. We're just recently, the Bratz documentary just came out, which had a lot of the Breakfast Club people in it. And I still love the movie, and it's iconic. It's timeless. The challenges that these kids are facing in detention, in their lives with their families and their parents are probably, likely not very different from what kids are going to face 200 years from now. They'll change with technology, and social media, of course, today has changed a lot of what kids face. But the core problems that we have when we're 14, 15, 16, 17 aren't necessarily going to change. And that's what I love about The Breakfast Club. So there's a lot of lessons in there, but I focus on Bender, the criminal, John Bender, the criminal, the juvenile delinquent. And at one point, he wants to keep Principal Vernon if you've ever been, I don't know if you've ever been in detention. I spent a few Saturdays in detention. Yeah.
I was the weird kid who did magic. So no, I was not in detention. I did get in trouble for doing magic so because the answers were on the teacher's desk. So I did get in trouble for doing magic for the teachers while my friend went over and got the answers to the test. But we didn't get detention for it. I just couldn't do magic in school for like a week.
Yeah, I'm sure that worked. Yeah. I mean, isn't the whole idea of magic to be able to do stuff under the radar? Like, I'm sure you figured out how to.
I did my job fine. Actually, So to be fair, we only got caught because my cousin knew what happened, and because I got a better grade than her, she got pissed and told. Oh, so actually here's the actual quick story is, so we in school, it was 8th grade. My cousin told on me, told her mom, and then told my mom. So the teachers didn't know. This flew by. My mom made me go into school, tell the teachers what I did. So I had to go tell on myself to the teachers, and the teachers were like, you can't do magic for 2 weeks? I was like, okay. Very weird scenario. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I mean, I've
not been in detention.
Okay. I spent a few days there, so I could relate to the kids in the Breakfast Club. And of course, I mean, 4 of them, Allison, played by Ali Sheedy, just said she had nothing better to do. So she came to detention. So she was the only one that was there, for not for something that she didn't do. She just chose to show up. So Bender is there, and Principal Vernon is the hall monitor, detention monitor. And Bender wants to keep him from seeing what they're doing, because they're supposed to be quiet and not talk the entire time. And he takes the screws out of the library door, the library that they're in. The door shuts, and he's like, now we can have a party, because this guy can't see in. But of course, Principal Vernon walks down the hall, sees the door shut, and says, who closed this door? And wants to know why the screws fell out, because he's like, where are the screws? Hey, the screws fell out. And Bender, after a back and forth conversation, Bender says, screws fall out all the time. The world's an imperfect place. And I had watched that movie 100 times or so, and I had heard that line, but I'd never really listened to it until I was in a place in my life before I actually left the corporate world to become a keynote speaker and author, where my screws had fallen out. And that line just resonated with me. And so when I thought about it, and I thought about the idea of problem solving, something that we do that you would do every day in a club. You're going to be problem solving every single day. You're going to be doing that in your life as well. But most certainly in the clubs, you're going to be problem solving, whether you're in leadership or you're just getting started out in your career in a club. There are going to be problems that you're going to have to solve. And they're going to be very specific. Unlike a lot of other industries, hospitality has a lot of, shall we say, quirks when it comes to the way that you have to handle service. You have to handle situations that may come up that are very, very unique. There's not a one size fits all, I guess is what I would say. So screws fall out all the time. The world's an imperfect place. And I started thinking, your screws are going to fall out in your personal life and in the club. It is unavoidable that they are going to fall out. The why is important, but it's how you put them back in that really matters. And so that why is the past. You want to understand why they fell out, but you just want to spend a little bit of time there, because it's how you put them back in that really matters. That is going to be the way forward. That's the present, and that's the way forward. So you have a situation that happens in the club. You're solving that problem, whether it's with a member or an employee. You want to understand why it happened, because you don't want to repeat it. But then it's how you put them back in that really matters. What are you going to do to move forward? How are you going to make sure that A, that problem is resolved, and B, it doesn't happen again, and C, that you have a solution for something that may happen that's similar as you move down the road. If we spend too much time on why they fell out, that's when we start to do things like wallow, which is just such a bad word, right? But it's something we all are guilty of, wallowing. We are all guilty of self-pity. We all do it. It's okay. It's all right. We all do it. We're all guilty of it. But at some point, you have to get past that why. Why me? Why did this happen? Why this problem? Why right now? I think is what a lot of us say. Why did this have to happen now? Spend a little bit of time there, but quickly get to that how you put them back in. That's going to be your present and future. And that's what I did. And that's how I ended up now today as a keynote speaker and author of 3 books, where I was in the corporate marketing world, which I I liked, but what I do today, I love. And it was because my screws fell out, and how I put them back in made all the difference. And you can do that every day in your clubs, because I'm assuming you have problems to solve every single day in every one of your clubs. So one more thing as we wrap up here, and I know this is near and dear to your heart too, Denny, because you and I have talked back and forth about our love for dogs and for rescues. And so it's something that's really important to me as well. And I'm not going to go deep into the lesson here from Dead Poet Society, but I do talk about a line from the movie where he says, no matter what anybody tells you, words and ideas can change the world. And they can change the world. We, in the palm of our hand, we have the great equalizer today. You know, we can get our words and ideas out to the world in a second. But that's kind of like talking the talk. You got to walk the walk. What action are you going to take to advocate for the thing that's important to you? And so for me, it's animal rescue. I have, my Bodie boy, who's a pit mix rescue that was dead on the street basically, and was thankfully saved and has been with me for 4 years now. I love him to death. But I've always had rescues my whole life. My grandmother instilled it in us in the 40s and 50s. She was doing it when it wasn't even cool or something people talked about. Passed it to my mom, who passed it to my sister and I. And so I say that rescue is the best breed. Rescued is the best breed. If you're looking for, a dog or even a cat or rabbit or whatever for your family, there are plenty out there that need homes. And if you can, please rescue, please adopt, don't shop. They're just waiting for you. And anytime I have a speaking gig, when I'm in that area, I try to find a rescue to volunteer at when I'm in person, because it is important to me to make sure that that's going to be my legacy. That's what I'll leave behind. So I appreciate you giving me that minute to talk about that.
No, you could talk about dogs for an entire episode. I don't care. They are my love language. Yeah. Me and my wife love dogs. Yeah. So no, 1,000%. Chris, thank you so much for coming on. I loved all of these lessons, and I know we're going to have you on again, and we'll talk about some other stuff, some leadership and different things, and we'll talk about some different movies and stuff. But thank you so much again. How can people find and learn more about you?
Yeah, I appreciate it. So they can find me at chrisclews.com, ChrisClews.com. I can say my name without stumbling, unlike Denny, who, by the way, took about 5 edits beforehand to get to be able to say Chris Clews. He knows my name. He just couldn't get it out for some reason. So we had a lot of variations.
When there's certain like letters and things that go together, and then I know how it is, but like in my head, like it just my brain just goes, nope.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. So chrisclews.com. Yeah. Thank you so much, Denny. You can find me on all the socials as well, at 80s Pop Culture on Twitter, Chris Clews 80s on Instagram, and then just Chris Clews everywhere else. I appreciate the time, Denny. Thanks. And stay rad, everybody.
Hope you all enjoyed that episode. I know I did. Oh, my goodness. So much fun. He and I can chat for hours. Actually, we did chat for hours. We recorded an episode a while ago, but It was like, I forget how long it ended up being, and it was just impossible to edit, so we had to re-record. But if you are enjoying the content, if you enjoyed that episode, check out the show notes in the link below, link to all of Chris's stuff. If you are enjoying the content, like I said, if you can like, share, subscribe, anything you can do to help move the channel forward, costs nothing and means the absolute world. If you have not signed up for our newsletter yet, head on over to privateclubradio.com, sign up for the newsletter, and that's this episode. Until next time, catch y'all on the flippity flip.